I never thought I would be the one to say this on camera, but what NASA discovered last week about 3I Atlas has forced me to reconsider everything I know about intelligence, communication, and whether we have already crossed a threshold we can never return from. Before we begin, I need you to do something for me. Comment your city name below and tell me, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky? NASA is quietly cataloging reports from across the globe, and what they're finding is unsettling. Do this now, because what I'm about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. My name is Dr. Michio Kaku. I'm a theoretical physicist. I've spent my entire life studying the fabric of space-time, the mathematics of the cosmos, the possibility of parallel universes. I've always believed that contact with extraterrestrial intelligence would be one of the greatest moments in human history, a moment of unity, of transcendence. But now, sitting here, reviewing the data that came through encrypted channels from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory just 72 hours ago, I realize I was wrong. Contact isn't a moment, it's a process, and it has already begun. Let me take you back to October 2019. That's when astronomers first detected 3I Atlas, an interstellar object hurtling through our solar system at a velocity that defied conventional explanation. It wasn't from here. It didn't originate in our sun's gravitational cradle. It came from somewhere else, somewhere deep. And unlike its predecessor, Oumuamua, which passed through our system in 2017 and left us with more questions than answers, 3I Atlas did something different. It slowed down. At first, the scientific community attributed this deceleration to outgassing, frozen volatiles on its surface sublimating as it approached the sun, creating a kind of natural thrust in the opposite direction. It was a comfortable explanation, a safe explanation. But comfort, I've learned, is often the enemy of truth, because 3 months ago, something changed. Deep Space Network arrays in Goldstone, California, and Canberra, Australia, began detecting low-frequency electromagnetic emissions emanating from the trajectory path of 3I Atlas. These weren't random. They weren't noise. They were structured, patterned, repeating in sequences that displayed mathematical properties, prime numbers, Fibonacci ratios, harmonic intervals that correspond to the cosmic microwave background radiation. In other words, the signal was designed, it was intentional, and it was directed at Earth. I was brought into a classified briefing at NASA's Ames Research Center on a Tuesday morning in early November. The room was cold, sterile. There were 12 of us, astrophysicists, linguists, cryptographers, a cultural anthropologist, and 2 individuals whose credentials were never disclosed. On the screen in front of us was a visualization of the signal. Waves of data represented as shifting colors, rising and falling like a symphony composed by something that understood not just mathematics but meaning. The lead researcher, a woman named Dr. Evelyn Marsh, stood at the front of the room and said something I will never forget. She said, "It's listening to us, and now it's responding." You see, for decades, humanity has been broadcasting into the void, radio signals, television transmissions, deliberate messages like the Arecibo transmission sent in 1974, beaming information about our biology, our chemistry, our location in the galaxy into deep space. We did this with hope, with curiosity, with the assumption that we were shouting into an empty room. But what if the room was never empty? What if something has been listening the entire time? Studying us, cataloging us, waiting for the right moment to respond? 3I Atlas is not a comet. I need you to understand this. Every model we've built, every simulation we've run, every spectroscopic analysis we've conducted points to the same conclusion. This object is partially artificial. Its surface composition includes elements that do not occur naturally in the concentrations we're detecting. Iridium, osmium, technetium isotopes with half-lives that suggest recent synthesis. Its shape, which we initially dismissed as irregular, follows geometric patterns consistent with fractal engineering. Designs that maximize surface area while minimizing mass, a hallmark of advanced construction techniques we've only theorized in papers about von Neumann probes and self-replicating spacecraft. But here's where it gets truly unsettling. 2 weeks ago, a research team at MIT's Haystack Observatory detected something extraordinary. They were analyzing the signal's modulation patterns when they noticed embedded data streams, layers of information hidden within the primary transmission, like a message within a message. When they isolated these streams and ran them through quantum decryption algorithms, they found something that made my blood run cold. The data streams contained information about Earth, detailed information, atmospheric composition, electromagnetic spectrum usage, GPS satellite orbital parameters, population density maps, linguistic patterns from over 4,000 human languages, and something else, neural imaging data, brain scans, cognitive models, as if something out there had been studying not just our planet, but our minds. How is this possible? How could an object that entered our solar system in 2019 possess information that was only generated in the last 5 years? The answer, I believe, lies in quantum entanglement and non-local information transfer, concepts that sound like science fiction but are grounded in established physics. If 3I Atlas is part of a networked intelligence, a distributed system spanning multiple star systems, then it wouldn't need to physically visit Earth to gather data. It would only need to observe, to intercept, to decode the electromagnetic fingerprint of our civilization as it radiates outward at the speed of light. But observation alone doesn't explain the response. 3 days ago, NASA confirmed something that has not yet been released to the public. I'm telling you now because I believe you have a right to know. When researchers transmitted a test signal toward the projected location of 3I Atlas, a simple mathematical sequence, a cosmic hello, the object responded, not hours later, not days later, instantly, as if it had been waiting, as if it had anticipated our attempt to communicate. The response was a cascade of data, terabytes of information transmitted in less than 6 seconds. When our systems finally processed it, we found star charts, detailed maps of galactic regions we've barely begun to explore, coordinates, hundreds of them, each one marking a location in space where similar signals have been detected, each one representing potentially another interstellar object, another probe, another piece of a vast intelligence we are only now beginning to comprehend. And then, buried in the data, we found something else, a sequence that, when translated through symbolic logic and rendered visually, formed an image. It was Earth, but not as we know it. The continents were the same, the oceans recognizable, but the atmosphere was different, thicker, hazier, and across the surface were lights, cities, structures, a level of development that suggests a future version of our world. Or perhaps a warning. I want to pause here for a moment because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this sounds impossible. You're thinking, this is speculation, conspiracy, fear-mongering. But I need you to understand something. I am a scientist. I have built my career on evidence, on mathematics, on the rigorous application of the scientific method. I don't make claims lightly. And what I'm telling you now is not conjecture. It is data. It is observation. It is the conclusion that multiple independent research teams have arrived at after months of analysis. 3I Atlas is not just reacting to our signals. It is engaging with them. It is learning from them. And if the projections are correct, it is preparing for something. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you study the trajectory of 3I Atlas, something becomes immediately apparent. Its path is not random. After its initial deceleration, it adjusted course, not dramatically, but enough to place it in a position where it will remain within range of Earth's electromagnetic sphere for the next 18 months. It's not leaving. It's staying. And the signal it's transmitting has been increasing in intensity and complexity every 48 hours, as if it's building towards something, as if it's counting down. There's a theory in astrobiology called the Great Filter. It suggests that somewhere between the emergence of life and the development of advanced spacefaring civilizations, there exists a barrier, a filter, that most intelligent species fail to pass through. We don't know what this filter is. It could be nuclear war. It could be ecological collapse. It could be artificial intelligence run amok. Or it could be contact. What if the filter isn't a disaster we create, but a threshold we cross when we announce ourselves to the cosmos? What if there are civilizations out there, ancient, powerful, vastly more advanced than us, who monitor emerging species, waiting to see if they're ready? And what if 3i Atlas is that test? I've spent the last week reviewing every piece of data we have, and I keep coming back to one inescapable conclusion. We are being evaluated. Our technology, our communication, our collective consciousness as a species, it's all being measured against some cosmic standard we don't yet understand. And the response we're receiving isn't just a reply. It's a reaction. It's as if something out there is deciding whether we pass or fail. But here's what terrifies me most. What if we've already failed? There's a concept in game theory called the dark forest hypothesis. It posits that the universe is like a dark forest, and every civilization is a hunter moving silently through the trees. The moment you make noise, the moment you reveal your location, you become prey. Because in a universe where resources are finite and survival is paramount, the safest strategy is to eliminate potential competitors before they become a threat. I used to dismiss this idea as paranoid, as overly pessimistic, but now, looking at the data from 3i Atlas, I'm not so sure. Because if this object is part of a network, if it's transmitting information about us back to some distant intelligence, then we've just announced ourselves to the entire galaxy. We've turned on a light in the dark forest. And now something is watching. NASA has convened an emergency task force. They're calling it Project Echo. Its mandate is to determine whether 3i Atlas poses a threat, and if so, what we can do about it. But here's the problem. We don't have a framework for this. We don't have protocols. Every simulation we run, every scenario we model, ends the same way, with uncertainty, because we're not dealing with a predictable natural phenomenon. We're dealing with intelligence, and intelligence by its very nature is unpredictable. I've been asked multiple times now whether I think we should attempt further communication, whether we should send another signal, try to establish a dialogue, demonstrate our peaceful intentions. And every time, I hesitate. Because what if our intentions don't matter? What if the mere fact that we exist, that we've developed technology, that we've reached out into the cosmos, is enough to trigger a response we can't control? There's a reason SETI researchers have debated active messaging for decades. There's a reason Stephen Hawking warned against announcing our presence to the universe. It's because we don't know what's out there. We don't know the rules. We're children playing with forces we barely comprehend, and the consequences of our actions could be irreversible. But it's too late now. The message has been sent. 3i Atlas has received it, and the response is already unfolding. Over the last 72 hours, amateur astronomers across the world have been reporting unusual activity in the night sky. Lights that move in coordinated patterns, objects that appear and disappear without explanation. And in at least 17 documented cases, individuals have reported experiencing vivid dreams, dreams of vast structures in space, of symbols they don't recognize, of a presence that feels both ancient and imminent. NASA is investigating these reports, but they're being careful. They don't want to cause panic. They don't want to acknowledge what might be happening until they're certain. But I'm certain. Because I've seen the data, I've spoken to the researchers, I've looked at the trajectory models and the signal analyses and the quantum decryption outputs, and everything points to the same conclusion. We are not alone. We have never been alone. And whatever has been watching us has decided it's time to make contact. The question is, why now? I believe the answer lies in our technology. In the last 2 decades, humanity has made unprecedented leaps in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, genetic engineering, space exploration. We're on the verge of becoming a Type 1 civilization on the Kardashev scale, a species capable of harnessing the full energy of our planet. And maybe that's the threshold. Maybe that's the moment when a species becomes visible to the rest of the galaxy, when they graduate from being a curiosity to being a concern. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe 3i Atlas isn't here to evaluate us. Maybe it's here to prepare us, to guide us, to ensure that when we finally step out into the cosmic community, we do so with wisdom rather than recklessness. I want to believe that. I want to believe that what's happening is the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. one where we learn, where we grow, where we take our place among the stars as equals rather than subordinates. But I can't ignore the evidence. I can't ignore the fact that every civilization we've ever studied, every empire that has ever risen, has eventually fallen. And in a universe governed by entropy, by competition, by the ruthless logic of survival, hope is a luxury we may not be able to afford. So where does this leave us? I think it leaves us at a crossroads. We can choose to respond with fear, to shut down our transmissions, to hide, to fortify ourselves against a universe we perceive as hostile. Or we can choose to respond with courage, to continue reaching out, to seek understanding, to demonstrate that humanity, despite all its flaws, is capable of growth, of compassion, of transcendence. I don't know which path is right. I don't know if there is a right path. But I do know this. The universe has noticed us, and whatever happens next will define not just our future, but our legacy as a species. 3i Atlas is still out there, still transmitting, still waiting, and every day the signal grows stronger. NASA is monitoring it around the clock. Researchers across the globe are working to decode its message, to understand its purpose, to determine what it wants from us. But in my quietest moments, when I'm alone with my thoughts, I can't help but wonder if the question isn't what it wants, but what it knows. What does an intelligence that has traversed the stars, that has witnessed the birth and death of civilizations, that has access to information we can barely imagine, what does such an intelligence see when it looks at us? Does it see potential? Does it see danger? Does it see a species worth saving, or a species that needs to be contained? I don't have the answers. None of us do. But I believe the answers are coming, and when they arrive, everything will change. So I ask you now, as you sit there watching this, as you process what I've just told you, what do you think? Are we ready for this? Are we prepared to face the reality that we are not the apex of intelligence in the universe? That we may be students rather than masters? That our entire understanding of existence may be about to shift in ways we cannot predict? Comment below. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your fears. Tell me your hopes. Because this conversation, this global collective reckoning with our place in the cosmos, is the most important conversation humanity has ever had, and we need to have it together. As we continue to decode the signals, as we continue to monitor 3i Atlas, as we continue to prepare for whatever comes next, I invite you to follow this channel, not because I have all the answers, but because I believe we need to seek them together. Subscribe, stay informed, stay engaged, because what's happening now is not just a scientific discovery. It's a turning point. It's a moment that will be remembered for as long as our species exists, however long that may be. I'll be updating you as new information comes in, as the analysis progresses, as the truth, whatever it may be, begins to emerge from the data. This is not the end of the story. It's the beginning, and I need you to be part of it. But before I go, I want you to consider something. Every great civilization has faced a moment like this, a moment where they had to choose between isolation and integration, between fear and understanding, between survival and transcendence. The civilizations that chose wisely survived. The ones that didn't, well, we only know them through the ruins they left behind. We are standing at that moment now, and the choice we make will echo across the galaxy for millennia to come. 3i Atlas is watching. The universe is watching. And somewhere out there in the vast darkness between the stars, something is waiting to see what we do next. So tell me, what should we do? Should we reach out, or should we remain silent? Should we embrace the unknown, or should we retreat into the familiar? Should we take the risk of contact, knowing it could change everything? Or should we accept our isolation, knowing it guarantees our ignorance? I don't know the answer, but I think together we might be able to find it. The signal continues, the countdown continues, and humanity stands at the edge of a precipice, staring into an abyss that, for the first time in our history, is staring back. What happens next is up to us.